Hey, Brian White is filling in for Buck. Well, the fishing season for most species opened on the 15th, and for many of us, that means walleye. I had the opportunity to spend a few days on Lake Gogebic with professional walleye fisherman Mark Martin and one of his pro staff team members, Dean Carli.
On that new scatter wrap they just came out with the new lip on it. That's the one that everybody wants and they can't get them.
And some insight from Lake Gogebic legend, Gino Maluski.
When the Zepco came along about 35 years ago, I'm on the same pole yet.
That's all tonight, right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
It's the walleye opener here in the UP, and Lake Gogebic, like many other lakes across the peninsula, once again comes alive with boats filled with camo and Carhartt-clad fishermen. Happy once again to be fishing with a pole longer than 18 inches. I love to fish, but for me nowadays, it comes secondary to filming. What matters to me is what happens in the first 8 feet above the water. For guys like Mark and Dean, it's all about what happens below the surface. They talk about it while they're in the boat, while they're eating breakfast, dinner, before they go to sleep. It's all about the fish and what's going to make them bite. Which way is the wind going to blow tomorrow? And based on that, where should we go? What's the water temperature? Is it rising or falling? When's the next front coming through? I'm sure if I stayed awake long enough, I'd have heard them talking about it in their sleep. The more they fish, the more they learn. And they're more than happy to pass that information along to anyone who will listen.
Yeah, we're going to try to cover some water here, try to find some pockets of fish here on Lake Gogebic. Trolling with some rapalas, got some jointed shad wraps, scatter wraps out, got some escos. Just trying to cover some water here across some of these rock and riprap shorelines and little rock bars out here that they've been spawning on earlier this spring, and probably still spawning because we've seen milk coming out of some of the males already. And we've been drifting today, over the rocks with jigs and blade baits and Phelps floaters and live bait rigs, trying everything and picking up fish on everything too. Just there hasn't been anything that's been super consistent. We're trying to find what's going to be consistent here, and we might try a little, casting after a while here towards evening and everything. That usually will produce a fish will move into the shorelines. Right now we're just trolling in here about, getting in about as much as about 6 feet when we're trolling, and out to about maybe 11 at the deepest, kind of zigzagging over these bars, trying to pick up a few of the fish that are real hungry and want these stick baits. And now it feels like it's warming up just a little bit. This morning and afternoon, it was a little cooler, so the water temperature has warmed up about 2 degrees from this morning. So maybe the fish are going to get a little bit more active. Keep our fingers crossed and see what happens here. Good job, Dean. I'll grab the net here for you. Okay. Oh yeah, nice walleye, Dean. Nice walleye. That's a good one right there. Yep. That's what we're looking for. There you go. right in. I think he's not real big, but might make 15 inches on that new scatter wrap they just came out with the new lip on it. That's the one that everybody wants and they can't get them. Looks like about 15 inches. We'll make a quick measure on him right here. He'll hit 15, but we don't want to be that close in case they shrink. We'll let somebody else have them for dinner.
I've been fishing Lake Gogebic for 34 years. Started fishing here 3 years old with my dad. Had a lot of good memories out here. Caught every species of fish in here. It's one of my favorite bodies of water to fish, whether it's open water fishing, ice fishing. It's a place I really enjoy to fish. Big body of water, but many years of fishing it. You find different techniques, different styles, different things that work. Some things that might work one year ain't gonna work the next. You wanna use anything that's a natural color for the predator fish in here. And that ain't always the case. I mean, you could catch them on pretty much any color if they're biting or spawning, or you fish a shoreline where the wind's pushing in. I mean, you could fish out here on a flat, calm day and catch them. I mean, you don't necessarily need wind or
a little small eye
or overcast, sunshine. I mean, if you're a good fisherman, you shouldn't have to make excuses why you can't catch fish. Some days, yeah, the bite's tough.
We got a fish on here right now on the scatter wrap here again. Looks like a little bitty one right there.
Sometimes you have to try many different things before you find the right presentation, right color, whether it's trolling, whether you're drifting, whether you're anchored. But if you put your time in, you'll sooner or later, you'll target them, and that's something you always gotta keep in the back of your mind when things get tough. I mean, you just gotta keep trying different things till you find something that works.
Somebody else had caught them and just ripped the hooks right out of them. But one thing about northerns, when their gills sometimes are ripped, they're pretty tough fish. They can survive it. That's been like that since last year. But yeah, we'll throw them in. We're gonna have a fish fry, aren't we?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Well.
This is a Silver Max. It's a bass reel. It's a flipping, so when they flip into heavy cover and they can, basically what it is when you want to flip it in, you push the little lever down right here, okay? Your thumb goes on the spool and you just hold it down and you flip it. So as soon as you let up, it comes up. So if I didn't want it on flipping, I'd turn this off right there. And then once it's down, it's down. The only way I can engage it now is with the reel, but I like it like that. So it's just a one-hand thing. So if you got a bottom bouncer, you're not constantly letting it out, and reeling it up, and you just small increments if you want, or big increments of line. Beautiful. Using level wind reels compared to, say, spinning reels, which do a very good job for me. I use them a lot, but they're not made like this right here is a bail. It's got a spring on it. You start using heavy weights on that, it's not going to last you very long. It's going to break the bail spring on it. Anytime you're doing real heavy work, for long periods, it works on everything. The gears aren't quite right, but when you're trolling, with lures that pull real hard, using heavy weights, bottom bouncing, pulling planer boards, lead core, any heavy weights, this is a winch. And you know what winches are for? Winches are for doing heavy work. And that's what you really, you want a winch. If you're just doing fine stuff like live bait fishing, jigging, casting lures and retrieving them and just flipping them out like that, light line and everything, spinning reels are the reel of choice for me. They're easy to use and efficient. You can see if there's any ball ups or you know, snags on it real easy so that you can maintain them real easy too. Fishermen are just like golfers and everything else. Everybody's got a golf club for a different range, from driving it off the tee to putting it in the hole. And I got different rods and reels for different kinds of fishing, from you know, heavy duty lead core and dipsy diver fishing, and inline weight trolling, down to finesse 32nd ounce jigs with a spinning reel with a ultralight rod. It all makes a difference combined in the right things, so that you can be a more efficient fisherman out here on the water, day in and day out, night in and night out.
Well, I tell you what, I was fishing with cane poles, but when the Zepco came along about 35 years ago, I'm on the same pole yet. Catch more fish than most of the other guys with all their big fancy ones.
Don't miss the Woodtick Music Festival in Hermansville, Michigan. 4 days of great bluegrass, country, folk, blues, and rock and roll. Over 25 bands. Fun for the entire family. Carry-ins welcome. Kids 12 and under free. Buy your tickets and campsites and find out everything you need to know online at woodtickfestival.com. That's woodtickfestival.com. The Woodtick Music Festival in Hermansville, Michigan.
We were right on the contour on this Navionics chip right here, Lake Gogebic, right here on this point right here. We were trolling right around the end of the underwater point. See, without the chip, you'd never know there's a slight rise and fall in the bottom, except the chip shows you. So I was kind of went out here to the edge and just started trolling it, and we had 2 fish, like bang bang. Even though, so if you get Navionics chips, even though it doesn't really show a huge break in the bottom a lot of times, there is a big break to a fish. 6 inches to a foot is a huge break. It doesn't have to be go from 10 feet to 15. In this shallow end right here, it's a kind of a bowl-shaped basin, so having these contours to follow is kind of critical. We'll get this scatter rat back out. Do her again. Put some stuff in right there. I knew it too late. Boy, we can't get away from these things today, can we? At least we figured out something. We gotta go just about 7/10 of a mile faster an hour, so maybe that's all it's gonna take for one of these walleyes too. Had to keep adjusting the scatter wrap so that when it hit bottom, I could quickly lift it up. Otherwise, the thing really dives really pretty good. Works really good, and it works its way into the rocks real easy too. It bounces off of them, but yeah, it looks like we got a walleye back there. So I'm gonna keep him right on the surface all the way into the net. He's a keeper, and there he is. I'll let you do me the favors, Dean, and unhook him for me. Throw him in with his buddy.
Black and tan.
Walleye. Right? Keep him coming. There. There he is.
I turn around and I'm looking at the rod. I'm like, oh. It's a nice Lake Gogebic walleye.
Yeah. But the fish are starting to come in right now because it's getting later and later. We start seeing a few more. What was that on, Dean?
Lindy rig.
There we go. Nice size smallie there, Dean. Young drop floater. Here we got one walleye, one northern, one smallmouth. Now to get some keeper size walleye here, we'll be all set. This right here is my new invention. Been for a couple of years I've been using floats. They're water bottles and fishing straight behind the boat. Basically, it's somewhat similar to a planer board, only it's a stern planer. You put this end right here. I already have my bait preset right here right now. I got the amount of line I want out on it, so I'm gonna clip it on. So this thing will keep the lure at the depth you want. You can put it out as far as you want behind the boat to get it out of your side planers. And the thing about it, the lure will vibrate right through that, all through those clips, because they're not attached to that cone. They're all on little swivels. So you can actually see my rod tip, you can actually see the lure vibrating on the tip of that rod right there. So if there's something like a little fish or a leaf or a twig or something like that gets on there, you'll be able to see it and be able to reel it in, take care of it. You can use this for trout and salmon, any kind of fish. And the thing is you notice there's a slick behind the boat right there where the motor is. It's kicking up plankton and disturbing if there's little bait fish and bugs. It's creating surface disturbance, and a lot of fish will go around the boat and then come in behind the boat and feed in that prop wash, just like they do slicks out in the big water. A lot of people look for slicks to fish salmon and trout in, and basically you're creating an artificial one right here. Life on the road, that's me. I've been making a living at this for 34 years, teaching people and giving back what the knowledge I do learn on the road, fishing tournaments. Tournaments to me are like going to college educations, but it never ends. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Every year it's a new college education that you bring back to doing television, writing articles, doing seminars across the country, and you're educating the public on the new and neat things that are coming up. Products, new boats, new motors, new electronics. Everything's so new all the time that most of the public can't keep up on it. And we are kind of like use the prototypes, and we're the guinea pigs. See that hole that it created in the fish right there? That's why you never stop cranking on a fish. I didn't even have to pull that hook out, did I? Just kind of just drops right out. So when you get a fish coming in, the more you play it, that hole gets bigger. And then if you really get slack in your line, that's how you lose a fish. But that's a real nice fish right there. The first people that learn how to use the equipment better than everybody else always do better, including tournament fishermen. So scatter wrap, we have to be on the top of our game. But yeah, these are brand new. You're not just going to find them at any and every store. What it does, the lure will run straight, and then just because it hits a current in the water or you change speeds, all of a sudden it'll dart off to the side like that and come right back, and then it'll dart off the side over here and come right back. So it's it's like scattering. They call it scattering. This thing is definitely on fire today. Doing this today is kind of just like practicing for tournaments. I'm learning my electronics a little bit better. I'm learning the feel of my boat. I'm learning the vibrations of these crankbaits that I have out here on the fire line.
I just put this black and tan out.
Refining your techniques and your tactics and the method, and you're actually inventing things that may come to market next year, a few years from now, so that it will help the general public and the people that like to go out and take advantage of the resources in their backyard and go fishing. Oh, he's melting. Look at that. Look at that. They're still spawning.
Yeah, I didn't have this plug out a minute, but I downsized in size. I went to 11.
Okay, that might be it. That's what a tournament fisherman is all about. We're the guinea pigs, we're the field testers, we're prototype testers. There we go. So by the time it gets into on the shelves or in the showroom floors, it's pretty well been tried, true, and tested. Looks like he'll be frying pan material right here. Scatter wrap one. These Rapalas, between the original floaters and the Escos and everything else today, they've been doing pretty darn good. That's for sure. That's the life of a fisherman, and it's a nomadic life, but I enjoy it. I'm blessed. I know what it's like to have a 40-hour-a-week job and punch a clock, and so I don't complain.
Well, when I fished all the while the other years, I fished with a cane pole. What you did is just stuck 2-3 cane poles off the end of the dock, wound the line around the end of it, got it at the right height, and truthfully, probably caught as many fish on them cane poles than any other. Just had a minnow with a hook, really no sinker, nothing. Dangle it right off the bottom. So I've been on the lake just about 55 years. I've owned a place here for about 46, so I've watched the fishing come and go, starting with pikey minnows and, like I say, cane poles. Many years ago, the season used to start last Saturday in April. Today, it's the middle of May, and this year, with the ice laid out, it reminded me of the first of it in April when it used to go out. Same kind of fishing, great fishing. The fishing I've seen is really hasn't changed a heck of a lot. Different things now, there's planer boards and skis and a lot of things that we never did. We did a lot of wading with waders, casting with a minnow and a jig and whatever, but truthfully, the electronics and all that has changed, which I have nothing of.
Well, it was time to throw the sleeping bag back in the truck and head for home. It was great seeing Mark and Dean again and making new friends. It was a great trip. For me, it's about spending time out in a boat, enjoying the fishing, the scenery, the UP, and going home with a pile of memories captured on tape that I can share with you. For Mark, it's about honing his techniques for the next tournament, and so that he can pass some new information on to the next fisherman. For Dean and the rest of the crew, it's about finding ways to trick a walleye into the boat. For Gino, it's the start of another great season on the shores of Lake Gogebic. But above all else, for everybody here, it's about getting together for another season opener at Gino's. It's about great friends, spending time together, and telling stories over a plate full of fresh walleye and a cold beer.
Making them next. Yeah, if I'm gonna be on, it's gonna have to be on cable. And Timmy's here too. So.
Oh boy.